are these podcasts? WATP.
It's an impromptu crossover event. Who are these podcasts? The Shuli Show, and of course, our mutual friend Vince, the attorney, joining us today because of some recent events that came up this week.
Wait, you should change your name, Vince, to Vince the text receiver instead of Vince the attorney, because you've been doing more of that the last few days than actual cases.
Vince has been called upon to scare us into hiding, Shuli.
Yeah.
He has a new job in this world.
So to give everyone an idea of what the hell these guys are talking about, I've been getting texts from, I'll call the person Stuttering Juan, because I don't want to reveal any identities. I don't represent anyone in this case or potential case, and I'm not giving any legal advice. That's my disclaimer. But Stuttering Juan...
Use your imagination on who that might be.
Right. For the people at home. Texting me, asking me if Shuli's address was accurate. And it was something like Alabama and then this weird address. And I didn't even know if it was accurate or not. So I did the research and I got him the exact address and I sent it over.
Oh, good.
And then for Carl, he's just asking if I knew him. And I haven't listened to anyone's show really in the past 4 months. I didn't know what Stuttering Juan was talking about. So maybe we can get some more insight and I can maybe help all three of you litigate this matter or not litigate this matter if potentially possible.
That sounds good. So ESO has done me the favor of sharing the video with me that I have right here. And this is the video that, now, this is actually Stuttering John. So it's no one that we're talking about on this episode. What you're going to see here, and this is so funny, just a random spot that I paused it, always looking like he's shitting.
Always.
It's
Every
great.
time. Like it's the shit that's going to take him out.
So
that's the look on his face.
What happened was, Shuli just put out an episode recently where him and ESO watched this video of John talking about Shuli from his Beer on the Balcony show. Now, Beer on the Balcony, as we all know, is behind a paywall. You got to subscribe on YouTube or Patreon in order to see this amazing content. Let's see what kind of content we're talking about. Back this up to the beginning.
Now we're going to do just a very brief thing on Shuli Egar. Shuli, let me just say something to you. I don't really know you. I put you through on the phone plenty of times with Stern.
All right, so you get the idea. You've already commented on this, obviously. We don't have to rehash anything. But this is a video from Beer on the Balcony that we were able to find on Reddit pretty easily. Somebody posted it up on the Dabblers Anonymous subreddit.
So that would be the first issue. Was this video that both are you two playing, or the hypothetically Muli and Carlos? Let's say Muli and Carlos get a video. Did they get the video from the paywall? Did they pay for it and then post it, or was it posted in the public domain and they were able to get it that way?
And does that matter?
Potentially not. Most likely it doesn't. Obviously, if Muli stole the video from John, he's facing criminal action, which is not really what we're talking about. If we're talking about infringement, it really doesn't matter technically. So if Shuli would be facing criminal charges, but if he uses the video in a fair use manner, then he wouldn't be facing potentially infringement charges, copyright infringement civil case.
Right.
So
This isn't the Pamela Anderson tape. This is different. This is something that's available to. This is something that's available to all. If you are, privy to a thing called the internet and Google.
Right.
You know what I mean? That would be my defense. It's not my world. That's more your world. But that's something I would say in court.
Well, I told Stuttering Juan that at least I didn't think Muli or Carlos were thieves, so I didn't know what he was talking about. So this is the video that he's
You wouldn't
claiming.
know by the names, I'll tell you that.
This is the video he claims that's being used and that his copyright is being infringed upon.
Yeah, this is the specific video, and I think what you said was not just we weren't thieves, but that we aren't hackers. I think you made it pretty clear that we're not hacking his account in order to get this content from him.
Right. So then, I mean, in terms of criminal charges, assuming Muli and Carlos didn't steal it themselves, let's say someone did steal it and then posted it online, then if either of them did a show with it and it's within the fair use standards, then it's perfectly fine. There's no criminal action.
And I apologize. I keep saying myself, Shuli. I was actually talking about Carlos and Mooley is what
Buddies
I meant
of
to
ours.
say. Yeah, some friends we know.
Friends of ours, yeah.
And I'm curious. So it sounds like Carlos and Muley, because we found this on the internet, it's okay to transformatively use this for our show, for our content. What about the person who actually put it up on Reddit? Does Stuttering Juan have a case against that person?
Potentially for conversion, which would just be theft and has nothing to do with Mooley and Carlos, assuming that those guys had nothing to do with actually stealing it. So it's a non-issue in terms of copyright infringement.
Yeah, because then
you'd have to go after every single person other than Mooley and Carlos who have seen this video and possibly done a reaction video to it. Which, correct me if I'm wrong, I haven't talked to my attorney, Minnie, but I'll ask you. Wouldn't that be fair use to react to something online to make a video? I see quite a lot of those.
Assuming that the reaction is within the standard set forth by the courts for fair use, which most likely it would be, then yes. So the theory is that if you create something, someone's not just rebroadcasting it without adding anything to it.
Correct.
Yeah, because it's interesting because I've seen people talk about Marvel movies, and now Marvel movies owned by Disney, a pretty large corporation, deep pockets, a lot of attorneys on staff. You would think that if they were doing something illegal by playing clips and then commenting on it, that they would get sued into oblivion.
The issue really, guys, is that there's only been a handful of cases, but the most recent case came down where a YouTuber was sued by another YouTuber for reacting to their video. And if Stuttering Juan would just read that case, it's Hussein Zadeh, it's a Persian name, V. Klein. And basically exactly what you just said, they were sued by a YouTuber and the court said that you were reacting to it, you were adding something to it. Therefore, it's not a copyright infringement.
So
that's in the legal terms, that's a real popak, they call it. That's when
what is popak reference?
Right between your fingers, just crumbles.
There's a legal precedent.
What is the popak reference? I don't know what that means.
It might be. We'll explain it offline. It's fine. It's no big deal. The people who need to know what it means, and that's all that matters.
Well, it's interesting because
John's attorney. Go ahead. What were you saying?
Interesting because I do know of an attorney named Michael Popak. And this specific attorney is in a lawsuit with SiriusXM. And it just went to oral arguments with a panel of 3 judges. I happened to listen to that. And what they kept saying to him over and over again is that there's no legal precedent. He didn't cite any cases that showed where there was legal precedent for the right of publicity that this is actually Stuttering John I'm talking about now, not a fictitious character. But Stuttering John is trying to sue SiriusXM for right of publicity. And the judges said, we don't see any other cases where this has been used and been successful. So it seems like if you can't find something, Minnie, that people have used in the past for what Stuttering Juan is threatening, then maybe it's not a good move on his part.
Probably.
Yeah, and to be clear regarding the SiriusXM case, I can't comment on that for various reasons.
I shouldn't, but I do.
Right. No, you guys can do whatever you want.
Okay,
I just
good.
happen to have some special connection to it, so I just can't. But in reality,
I can't comment either. I cry myself to sleep every night hoping that they call me back. So I will not comment on that. So,
well, I'll say this. Think about the interns that weren't getting paid for all those years on the show.
Sure.
Then were they actually signing away their rights to use their work? Most of them weren't. Now, I don't like California law. I love New York law for cases like that. So assuming that someone didn't actually sign anything, that's what New York requires here. I don't know what attorney, I don't know anything that what John did subsequent to me and him potentially even thinking about something like this. But to me, the people that work there and never signed away their rights, and if they're still using their work today, potentially they have a case under New York law. I don't know anything about California.
Yeah, well, that's not the angle that this particular pair that have teamed up for this are going after. They're using California law to write publicity.
But it is interesting because they were sued by music groups because they were playing all these songs on the 50s and 60s channel. And these musicians said, well, we're not getting any royalties for you guys playing our songs every single day. And they won.
They settled, yeah.
So, for example, I know comedians that that get paid via the Comedy Channel on Sirius playing their work. So I kind of see that, let's say somebody worked there. Let's say they worked there for 15 years. Let's say every now and then some of their bits get played on Best Of. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's a little gray area there. As much as I hate to side with Stuttering Juan, but let's be honest, they don't ever play Stuttering Juan stuff.
Also, I should make the comment that copyright for music is very different than any other form of entertainment. That's very strict. You can't run 4 seconds of a song on YouTube without there being a copyright infringement. Whereas you can play 10 seconds of a movie or 20 seconds of another video and it's fine. You can have transformative, but with music, you cannot do that. It's very different.
Yeah, it makes sense too, right? Because what can you really add to a song while it's actually playing?
Well, yeah, in that case, it makes sense. Unless you're doing a sweet mashup like Kid Rock, that obviously you're making it your own.
Yeah, true.
Yeah, true. All right, so let's get into this hypothetical text string that we recently were made aware of, because it's interesting that someone who wants to bring up a legal case would start by maybe threatening said legal case as opposed to just serving the papers necessary.
Right.
To get started.
So whatever Carl is referring to is that I received a text message from somebody and they were asking if I represented Muli and Carlos. And I said I wasn't. And then proceeded to give me more information about the case. And then when I had referenced that you probably don't have a case, then that person didn't want to talk to me anymore. And then I told that person,
wrong number.
New phone, who dis?
Sorry.
You know what's cool? You know what I said to John? I said, John, the best thing about you is I'll tell you that you're too sensitive. And then you'll tell me that you're not sensitive. And then you will completely disregard what you said and you become sensitive again in terms of blocking people. And I think like for us, part of John's charm is that he doesn't understand that aspect of his life. Right. I mean, like if let's say he listened to me and he didn't block anyone and didn't react, then I don't think John would be that fun. And you wouldn't even have a 5,000 subscribers, Carl, because what else would you do? I mean, I only watch the videos where you make fun of John.
That's
right?
It's the only thing anybody watches.
Listen, I mean, he brought out something in me that I've been sitting on for a while where I'm just like, I'm not going to react to this guy. I don't need to. He needs me to. And then finally, I was just like, he wore me down. And I'm just like,
forced your hand.
I'm going to react and I'm going to say something here that I didn't think I'd ever say. Because you know me, I'm all heart. I'm a very positivity kind of guy. But it felt good.
Well,
I really liked it.
I missed it. What did you actually say?
I said a lot. I said about an hour.
But what was your main argument against him or main put down?
Well, for example, in that video, he talks about how he doesn't know me. He doesn't know me other than putting my calls through. And it's like, he knows me. Like he knows me and he's acting. And then he proceeds, much like every troll, they go, I hate you. Your show sucks. Yeah. And then they tell you every show that you've done and every part of every show and every line that you've said. So he's sitting here trying to take this high road of going, I don't know you. I've never fucked with you. I've never started anything with you. And I'm like going into my phone and there's DMs of him going, why are you such a pussy? Like out of the blue. That's his hello to me. Yeah. And ironically, what you brought up a minute ago, Vince, is so funny because this guy that started this, made these videos calling me out, has blocked me on Twitter. He blocked me.
Yeah, and I want to point something out, Vince, to your point. We made fun of Stuttering John's show 4 years ago on Who Are These Podcasts, and like most shows that we do, we just moved on. his reaction to us just kind of goofing on him, saying his show sucked, was that we're nobodies and we're losers. And so we played that, reacted to that. Next thing you know, he's going to sue us. He's going to break our legs. And this is that's why we like him, right? That's why he's engaging, because he overreacts. He's thin-skinned.
You know how frustrating it is? You know how frustrating it is when a nobody says you're a nobody? That's why I said it to him in my last episode, because I want to piss him off.
Well, actually, here's the thing, because I mean, he is right about. I mean, you're not a loser, but in the end, John has made it in this industry, the entertainment industry. He was on network television, so I don't think anyone really, all of us has.
Let's. I mean, can we put a little asterisk next to the on? I mean,
I'm sorry, the odds of him, anyone making it to that level. I know he doesn't have necessarily the financial success, but he has made it compared to everyone that's making fun of him.
You're 100% right.
Time out. I just want to say, the best thing about Vince is that he trolls you when he's on the show with you. He did that when he was John's sidekick. He did that to me when I had him on the show. He's doing it to us now. That's what I love about Vince. Like, that's what makes it fun. That's what makes the conversation fun. I don't know why John fired you from that role, because you were great as his sidekick or co-host.
He's great. He's great. Minnie is a real prick. Don't deal with that.
Yeah, that guy's a problem.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's the thing with John is my personality and my shtick would never work with his, because I will go against him. I just heard him saying, and maybe Shuli, you can get a reaction. I guess Howard saying that everyone in the grand old party, any Republican now, is crazy for the most part. And before you react, I'll say that I have years and years of audio from Stern. He's always been a general election Democrat, no matter what, except for right after 9/11, he wanted to bomb everyone, and he was with Bush. But for the most part, actually, for all the part, he is a Democrat in terms of general election, not local. The presidential election, he has always been a Democrat, which is common amongst Long Island Jews, not Las Vegas Jews. So it's not something that's uncommon. So now he's bashing people for being Republican, basically saying that if you're Republican, you're crazy.
Oh, Senator John might sue him. That's his shtick. Watch out.
Copyright infringement.
Well, that's what John started. After John listed and named the 100 people that are in his chat room, then he said, well, I don't usually agree with Howard Stern, but I think that the GOP, everyone in the GOP is crazy.
Yeah. Yeah, that's his whole thing now. He's probably said that Howard Stern stole that from him. I've heard him say that before. I know Gary's listening to my show and then telling him what to say.
You know, we're in such a crazy time in this world where, you got all these people on both sides that are all crazy. And then today I see on Twitter a video from the rapper Redman, who I've been listening to since I was 16, telling everybody, stop watching the news and stop picking a side and just fucking go out and live life.
Amen.
And it's crazy to me how like we just whirlpooled into this fucking thing, man. And people are so deep. They're so far. Howard talked about filling potholes with executed fucking prisoners as one of his running platforms in New York. Like, I get that people change and people evolve, but fuck, man, he made such a hard left, and he's all in now. He's like, I don't give a fuck if I lose, let's say, 40% of my audience because they're Republicans. Fuck them. Like, he's all in.
Well, the math's pretty easy.
But
the math's pretty easy on this one, Shuli. That would be 40 people. So I think that's fine.
All right. I don't know. They still haven't worked out a whole ratings thing there yet, but they're working on it.
So my friend and I want to get the actual ratings for the show now, like the real ratings, like how many people are actually watching. And my friend works in the IT department there, like high up, but he still won't reveal that information to me.
Yeah, you got to get Putin in the mix if you want those numbers, dude. You're going to have some Russian cyber action going on, because they ain't looking to share those anytime soon, I'll tell you that.
I do know this, Vince, because there was that article that came out in the New York Post. And probably a year and a half ago now, it was a pretty big deal when it came out. And what was cited in that is that they did a survey of people who have a subscription to SiriusXM, and fewer than 10% of those people said they subscribed for Howard Stern. And if you had taken the same survey in 2007 or 2012, you're going to be over 90%. So the audience has definitely shrunk quite a bit based on that.
And that's listening on Sirius, right? Even another example, I did one episode of Your Mom's House,
Yeah.
and that YouTube video has more hits than all of my YouTube videos from the show that I've been on in clips or whatever to promote put together. All of them, just one episode. So I know they're trying. That's their like big thing to get people, to get the online. But like you can't do that by turning off comments and not letting people say what they want to say.
Oh, Sirius doesn't allow you to comment
On their Twitter
YouTube?
account? No.
Howard
Or I don't know about
doesn't.
Instagram, but Twitter account you can't. On Stern Show account? Hell no.
So getting back to Stuttering John real quick, I was looking for this clip. I was going back to some old episodes of WATP. I wasn't able to find it because we've talked about him for many hours now, but there was a time when I played this song on my show that John had played on his show. He grabbed the acoustic guitar and he's singing and he's playing, and he screwed it up really bad. It was really embarrassing. So we had some fun with it. So John gets on with Royce, who was his co-host at the time, and he says, they're not allowed to play my song. They can't do that. And Royce goes, yeah, I'm not worried about that. Like, we play clips from Howard Stern. And John's response was, yeah, because they're talking about me. So, of course, I'm going to play clips if they're talking about me. So now he's talking about Shuli behind his paywall. Shuli plays it, reacts to it. And now I guess that law has changed in his mind or something. Like, why does he think this is different?
Was it the song that starts with "Poor little Jew boy thought he was a coon"?
No, but I have recently talked about that one too.
Shuli, do you know it? Do you even know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, the song that couldn't believe Howard didn't put on the album, right? On Private Parts that he came up. Was that the one?
It was actually when
No.
he was an intern, he wrote it, and he wanted it to be the show's theme song.
Right, and he couldn't. I just remember he was shocked that Howard wasn't into it.
I can't believe they
Listen to
goofed
the
on him.
lyrics. And it's super blatant even for the time. We have to get that song up. It is amazing.
You guys talk. I'll find it. I have it here.
Yeah, I was like, you're on the one show that you'll have that in about 35 seconds.
Yeah. Let me give you a second.
Yeah,
definitely find that.
It goes, poor little Jew boy thought he was a coon. And I forgot how the hook goes.
Well, I mean, you really remember the most important part, in my opinion. Is
I think
people,
there is.
you say those verses to people, and they're not, after you finish, thought he was a coon, people aren't like, I wonder what the chorus is like.
And back to our politics being divided, I can't stand when people say, "Well, everyone needs to come together and act as
Fuck
one."
that.
I mean, I know a few places where that happened. Germany, for example, where everyone just supports one person.
Right.
And I get our system benefits from everyone being dug in, and the end product generally is what makes the country great. It sucks because half the people are Republican, half are Democrat. That's great,
Right.
and you're never going to change most of those people anyway. So it's
Right.
really the rub that comes out of that conflict. And we are pussies compared to, let's say, even in terms of Hamilton. You know how they settled their disputes? I mean, they went across this river over here and dueled when they had a political issue, right?
men.
And what
men.
do we do?
What do we do?
Send the tweet.
I duel on Call of Duty. Carl hates it, but that's where I duel like a man.
Oh,
I'm
good.
not
Can we
willing
talk
to
about that
fight
for the next 25 minutes, please?
Oh,
Can't wait to
don't
hear
fuck
about it.
Don't
So
make
what
me
happened with-
sue you, dude.
So this song, although it's not so controversial, it was really John's first week or two, and as an intern, and he came up with a few songs. This was the first one where he really thought Howard was going to love it, and that's why it was so controversial at the time.
And let me just thank you, by the way, Juan, for bringing us together. I haven't talked to Vince in a while, so I appreciate the text. It's helped bring us back together. Nice.
What I recommend is that eventually you get John on with you, and that should be fun. I don't know if he'll agree.
I made him
with
an
it.
offer in my last episode.
You did.
I
Yeah,
said,
but you're assuming he watches it or he'll get it. I really got to convey it to him so he actually can say yes or no.
well, I don't have his number. Can you give me his address?
Well, what's funny is that, so Stuttering John likes to hide behind I don't listen to his show. I don't know what they're up to, but the people tell me. Well, I have my moderators and they tell me what's going on. So they'll tell him ridiculous shit that he just automatically believes, and it gives him an out on things. He can be like, what did they say about me? What were they saying about my kids? Like, nothing, but...
We used to do a thing with, when we were on the Killers of Comedy show, we used to do a thing where we would, there would just be wild fucking heckling assholes in the crowd, and we didn't want to be the asshole, so we'd be like, "Hey guys, listen, management said they're going to throw people out if you heckle. We don't want anybody to get thrown out." So, but really, in our head, we're like, somebody's got to calm these fucking animals down.
Just so everyone knows, we had an echo going, and I just watched one of your shows where you were making fun of someone for echoing and echoing back, and the triple echo and the echo forever. So yeah, I think it's cleared up now, though.
That's what's great about Carl's show is he's a man of the people. He makes fun of the people's problems because he lives through the people's problems as well.
What I like to say is clean it up in post. I make mistakes too, and then I make it seem like I didn't. That's the key to success right there. What if I were to play this right now?
Here's a story about a Jew's success. Do-do-do-up, do-do-do-up. He grew up with blacks. His mind was a mess. Poor little Jew boy thought he was a coon. After dancing the horror, he had nowhere to go. Do-do-do-up. Do-do-do-up. Who would have thought he'd be king of radio? Hail to King Howard. Howard is the king. Howard Stern. Tie Scott Muni to a pole, light a match, and watch him burn. I mean, let's face it, Scott Muni's throat is a mess. Soupy Sales needs an enema, and Scott Shannon wears a dress.
Now, this is a theme song, so you'd think that that'd be over at that point. No. He starts verse number 2.
Well, Howard said we see ya to NBC. Do-do-do-up, do-do-do-up. It seemed they got jealous of his popularity. Do-do-do-up, do-do-do-up. Now Howard makes more money than ever before. Do-do-do-up, do-do-do-up. He's the king, great top-rate ratings whore. Howard is a slut. He's a rich ruling slut. Howard Stern. Tie Scott Muni to a pole, light a match, and watch him burn. I mean, let's face it, Scott Muni's throat is a mess. Soupy Sales needs an enema, and Scott Shannon wears a dress.
Why were the choruses the same? If you're writing like a fun satirical song, you want to add more jokes, right? And the second chorus?
You know who he should sue is the guy who recorded his audio for the book that looked at him after that take and went, "We got it." Yeah, that's the guy you should sue.
You guys are such haters. I want to see what you did when you were 20 walking into a major show. That was a great fucking song.
It's a great song.
It was. And actually he does an English accent in that part too, which is cool. I want to see what you guys are doing.
Behind the shitty music with Vinny.
Please.
Shuli, to your point, I like to think that he did take 20 or 30 takes at that, and they're like, all right, this is the best one. We'll use this one. We are on a budget here. We got to move on.
I think after take 14, the guy's like, I'll put it all together and send it to you.
Yeah, we'll figure it out in post. We got it.
Yeah.
So the song you played, I guess John sang Poor Little Jew Boy Thought He Was a Coon for his book, but the actual song itself is really good, a lot better than what you played for us. And in fairness to John, that was his like first week on the job. So yeah, he was kissing Howard's ass, but the thing was he didn't realize that saying Poor Little Jew Boy Thought He Was a Coon would be offensive and not necessarily appropriate for him to actually do.
He also says, I didn't think this was funny. I just knew that Howard would think it was funny. He likes to pretend like, yeah, I'm also very offended by this.
I like how Vince is painting a picture like he just walked off a farm and into the city and into a building. And he's like, he didn't know any better. He's, Jew boys and coons. I mean,
what are you going to do?
You can't fault the guy.
Well, let me ask you this, Vince. So theoretically, there's a guy named Stuttering Juan who wrote an autobiography, and then and then he made it available where you could download it. So I went ahead and purchased this, and I've been doing an ongoing series on Patreon, but I put some stuff up on YouTube too, where I've been listening to Stuttering Juan's book and kind of deconstructing it. Now, this is something that costs money. It's not a paywall, but it's similar type of concept. He has not gone after me for that. Why is that?
I don't know, but in New York, there is an exception for audio read by a book. So there's different types of copyright. And obviously, this is something where someone's reading a book. So it's actually an automatic victory if he would bring it. And then the damages per page are $75,000 per page. I don't know if you're lying to me, that you're actually doing that. But I mean, I wouldn't let John or Stuttering Juan know that.
So I'm playing clips of it. I'm not playing pages at a time. I'm playing clips, and
The court does not care. I mean, if it's
transformative
if
content.
you're reading, it's similar to a song. If you're reading a book, it's called per se liability with the
Well,
per page.
I don't want to argue with you about the law, sir, but I don't think that's true, because if you're using it to review, or if you're using it to critique, you can certainly take passages of a book and print them in a newspaper as you're reviewing or critiquing a book. That's perfectly legal.
Look, if that's what you think the law is, I'm just saying I wouldn't let broadcast this to John, because those are the easiest lawsuits to win.
When it comes to a lawsuit, like Juan is threatening with our friends Mooley and Carlos.
Yeah.
So how does that work? Like, what's the process of that? What does he do? And then what's the next step? And what can they do if they wanted to find out, or get involved in this lawsuit? What are some of the pros and cons for each side, I guess, is what I'm asking.
So anyone with about $300 can file a lawsuit.
Oh, so they're fine.
All right. So this is going to be a few months then. Okay, good.
So you at least need $300, and then you actually file a complaint, and then you too would get served. You don't serve it through a random person like Minnie. You actually go to the person and have it served in person or potentially via mail. Now, there's an issue for you guys. Assuming Mooley and Carlos don't live in California, then there's a whole issue whether the court has jurisdiction over both of those two. And then they will look at your connection to the state of California if that's where Stuttering Juan lived. But let's say
can I just ask real quick, does the person filing the lawsuit usually go around asking for the person's that they're suing's address? Is that a normal? That's
totally normal. That's whatever that's what we always do. We just ask random people if that's where the address is. And then for whatever reason, we don't file the suit. We just ask that.
Yeah.
I missed that episode of Perry Mason. Go ahead.
So let's just say John wins the case. He then has to prove damages no matter what.
Right.
So there are a thing called statutory damages, which we were talking about with Carl, that are automatic, but then he's got to show actual loss. So in theory, Mooley and Carlos would have access to discovery, which would include Stuttering Juan's tax returns, if he has any businesses, the incorporation documents, the corporate bank accounts, and the corporate tax returns as well. So any type of financial information that he's claiming that he lost money because of, he would have to produce before you would actually get to some dollar amount.
What if Stuttering Juan's hiding stuff in offshore accounts
Well, in theory, since he's the plaintiff, he wouldn't really matter so much, because he has to prove with documents how much he actually lost, because one of you guys stole his beer on the balcony.
Would Stuttering Juan have to open up his books before the actual trial would begin?
Yes, and there's two parts of a case. Liability, were you guys liable for violating his copyright? Let's say it wasn't deemed to be fair use, and then damages come. And so he's got to prove what amounts he was damaged. So at that point, documents would have already been exchanged, yes. And then he would have to use those documents to prove, and then you would go through his bank accounts, all of his YouTube accounts, any type of financial accounts from YouTube or any other place where he gets money, Patreon. You're entitled to all that information. And then you would do your analysis to determine if, let's say, Carlos did steal it and he did infringe on John's rights, how much did he lose based upon his bank account?
Okay. All right.
So
you would get all that information, including tax returns as well.
Here's a fun question.
What if the bank account's at a loss already? Then what do you do?
What if he's overdrawn?
Right. You go, we didn't do this one.
All right, here's a fun question for you, Vince. So let's say that discovery happens. We're opening up our books to each other, and I get to see specifically how much money this Stuttering Juan character makes on Patreon and through YouTube. Could I use that information to, have a goof on my show, or maybe play
what
a
if you
contest?
React to it? Could Carl react to something Carlos and Mooley found out?
Yeah, that's a good question. Can I react to it?
Generally, yes. So everything that is
Yes!
in a lawsuit
Let's
is
go!
public, and it's public for a reason, right? We don't want to keep things private, even though you may not want them to be private. The public needs to see, and we need to react to it going forward based upon the precedent it sets. The only issue would be maybe you would have to redact his social security number. You would have to redact his social security number on his
Maybe.
tax
Oh,
returns.
Okay.
But the amounts and everything else most likely are going to be in the papers. So anyone who has access to the court
Guys,
file.
coming this fall, the the Mooley and Carlos show, available on all platforms.
So here's what I'm thinking. We have a game that we play where you have to guess how much money Stuttering Juan makes off of YouTube. And, it's like Price is Right rules. Closest without going over.
Well, we can get how many subscribers does he have?
There's no way to know. As far as paid, there's no way to know.
The actual just YouTube subscriber.
Well, he makes money off of people who actually subscribe and pay for YouTube, and then he makes money on Patreon.
I know how they make. I know how people make money off YouTube. I was just asking how many subscribers.
He actually makes money off of Carlos because people go to his show after listening to Carlos.
This is true.
Talk about it.
I think he has like 13,000 Vans. I think he's had that number for years.
I think realistically, he owes us more than we owe him.
I
think at this point, if we were going to tally everything up, especially with Carlos bringing over so many people to his show, I mean, think of how many trolls have donated to him just to troll him.
Yes, people I know, friends of mine have done it. I know.
That's what I'm saying. So you add all those donations up plus subscriptions, I think we have a case.
Yeah, it's interesting you bring up because in that case that I told you about, the Klein case where the YouTuber was sued by another YouTuber, the court basically said that, yes, part of copyright law is the ability to create future work. And that includes jobs that are being created now by people that are reacting to other work. So, yes, it's a part of the analysis whether you're actually adding value to John's work. I'm using work as copyright work.
Well, we're not hurting it any, I can tell you that.
No, definitely not.
Yeah.
Let's look at, again, let's get another example of some of this copyrighted work that John's so proud of.
Behind the paywall.
Behind the paywall. This is what you get. This is an advertisement right now, everybody. If you want to subscribe on Stuttering John's Patreon or through YouTube, this is what you get that no one else does.
Never had a problem with you, ever.
The desktop
Never.
audio's not working.
Never said anything bad about you. I didn't know you. But, what is there to say? I could tell you a lot. I could say a lot of bad things about you, from what I hear from,
the audio's not coming through now because I had to turn that off so that you guys could hear what was going on. All right. It'll work in post. That'll be fine. It's all good.
He's just, this is literally, I've never seen somebody get an infomercial and be upset about it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, right. Exactly.
We're literally giving him an infomercial, and he's like, "Hey,
Promoting
take
him
that
nonstop.
down immediately. I don't want anybody knowing about me."
Vince, I have another question as it relates to the law. So let's say this Stuttering Juan character has a copyright for the Stuttering John podcast. Mm-hmm. Does that mean there's a copyright for anything, any piece of material that comes out from the Stuttering John podcast? Or does that mean he's copyrighted the name of the show and no one else can put out a show called the Stuttering John podcast?
Yeah, I mean, that's more of a technical question. There's a difference between trademark and copyright, and that's outside my scope because I'm more into litigation. So I'm not sure what are you really asking?
I guess my point is, can we assume that he owns some type of copyright for this work just because he's the one who did it? Like, just talking on the internet does not mean that you own that. You've put it out on the internet. You need to file for a copyright, I would think.
Well, and there's also third parties that you're putting it out through, right? There's like Zoom or StreamYard or whatever system you're using. Like, who's to say that they don't own it because it's on their platform?
Yeah, but I wouldn't necessarily use that argument if you were ever to get sued. The real issue is, are you using it in a fair use manner?
Well, yeah, the answer
Seems fair to me.
The answer to that is obviously yes. So that's why I'm just trying to explore other reasons why this guy's an idiot. It's not
and that's fair. And that's fair.
That's how I like to use my time. And that's fair.
Yeah, that's fair. It's fair for him. Well,
All right.
part of me has never wanted to be sued more in my life
I know.
than right now. Just
Especially if
based
it's
on,
both of us at the same time. You know how much fun that would be?
oh my God.
Oh, I
We
can't.
do it. Can we, hypothetically, could Mooley and Carlos stream on Twitch IRL during the court proceeding? How do we get the court proceedings to be
yes.
televised? Well, how does that work?
You generally won't, assuming he's going to sue you in federal court. That does not allow for any type of recording.
It's not
Actually,
fair.
We got to get a hold of Springer. Springer's putting anybody on.
Let's
I know
move to
4
California.
comics.
I'll move to
Yeah.
California if we can make this a state case.
Judy Wapner. Let's find them. Somebody's out there.
Yes.
one of my other famous clients was Benji's old girlfriend. Do you remember that girl who was really
Ivy?
skinny? Yeah. So Ivy Supersonic, she recorded the Madoff hearing in audio and got busted. So
Really?
yeah, we eventually got it, or she got it dismissed, or just got it squashed. But yeah, she got in trouble for the audio recording of it. She went in there and did it. I thought it was
Well,
awesome.
listen, when you're a super skinny chick with a squirrel tattoo on your neck, you're gonna stick out in a courtroom. Probably not best to have a recorder. It's like that "What's Happening" episode with the Doobie Brothers. Did it fall out of her trench coat when she stood up?
So John's saying he doesn't know you. What type of interaction have you had with John from the beginning?
Biblically, no, I knew him at first from calling into the show. He was the first one that tipped me off. He would say, "Julie, Howard loves your stuff. He loves your stuff. Keep calling in." So I did, and we had met face to face at a stand-up comedy show out in Vegas. We met again out in New York when I went out there to sit in on the show for the first time. So yeah, we had met a few times. We knew of each other. We weren't best pals, but he definitely knew me, and I knew him.
Yeah. So basically,
I was the guy he called when he left his VHS cassette of his street interviews that he used to play before his set. When he would go up and do stand up, he'd play 15 minutes of this highlight reel from the Stern Show, and then go up and do 7 minutes. And so he forgot it at the hotel, and he knew me then to call me and ask me to go get it for him, which I did.
what hotel was it?
Palace Station.
Oh God.
Yeah.
Carl, do you know what Palace Station is?
No, I've not been there.
Picture like the worst shitty casino amongst all beautiful casinos, and that's it. I didn't even know they had rooms there.
So wait, it was on the
Yeah.
strip?
Yeah, technically.
It's a little behind the street. It's literally right next to the freeway. It's right next to the, like, if you veered off the freeway and wanted to kill yourself, you'd end up in their buffet.
I've been to
right.
Vegas a dozen times, and I've never even heard of that place.
Yeah, it's
that makes
at
sense.
best a local stop, and even locals don't like fucking going there.
How'd you get it back?
I went in there and I just started. I talked to the front desk. I
He
schmoozed,
goes,
man.
do you know who the fuck Stuttering John is? If he has to come
Yeah.
down here and get it, you're not going to be happy.
I was like, I just schmoozed him. I just talked to him like there was, I wasn't taking no for an option. I was gonna get this video for him, because he was telling me, he's like, dude, if they find out that I have this thing on the road, he's gonna kill me. He's gonna lose it. Blah blah blah. I felt bad for him.
Did you get to go up to the room, or did they actually send someone up there?
No, they sent someone up and brought it to me.
I'm just curious where he actually left it.
Yeah, that I don't know.
You know? Because there's stories that Artie tells where John leaves $10,000 checks on the floor of the motel and things like that. So I don't know why you guys are always hating on John, man. These are like classic stories, and it's entertaining to me.
Classic stories. The classic John, I'm a huge fan of.
So why don't you leave him alone? I mean, why are you guys always stealing his shit and picking on him for real? I mean, what is the real beef you have with him?
Hey, who are you not representing here? Us
seriously.
or him?
So, Vince, I wanted to ask you something else, and maybe I should have tipped you off before we did this, but are you familiar with Brendan Schaub?
Yeah.
Okay.
He's a fighter, right?
Yeah, he was a UFC guy, and now he's transitioned into podcasting and comedy, and he gets picked on quite a bit by the internet. There's actually a pretty large subreddit that hammers him on a daily basis. And this kid.
And that's not fair, Carl. He gets picked on from stand-up comics as well, not just the internet.
That's very true. Yes, good point.
Yeah.
He made a comment that he is Eskimo buddies or Eskimo brothers with Dana White. Do you know what that statement means?
Means they fucked the same girl.
Okay, do you know who they fucked or who he claims they fucked?
No.
Interesting. All right, I'll think about it. 'cause I forgot the name.
Ronda Rousey.
Yes.
Yeah. Because I did hear that they had gotten together at one point.
I was going to guess Mooly Carlos. But that was,
He's a better man than me, man. I wouldn't be able to handle that.
I just saw another case out of Vegas related. Dana White won his lawsuit against the boyfriend of a stripper in Brazil that was suing him for banging his girlfriend. It's like, do you really want to win that case and have to go home to your wife and explain? We once were contemplating filing against Ashley Madison for the data breach, but we couldn't find one goddamn plaintiff to actually file the case. Of the millions of guys that were on there cheating, not one of them was willing to go public and say, hey, I'll be the lead plaintiff in the case.
I'm surprised because I feel like a lot of them lost their marriages over that because their name had already leaked at that point. You'd think that a few of them would be bitter. And
a guy could still lie his way out of that. It's tough to put on a 3-piece suit and be like, I'm not doing anything today. I got in for another.
And how cool is this? Once we file and then it settles, the named plaintiffs are the named plaintiffs. You can generally find the named plaintiff, but the millions of guys will get a check for $4 in the mail. What do you do when you get that check?
Yeah, it's not as discreet as you want it to be. Why are you getting paid from this website? I don't know. They'll give it to everyone. So anyway, just to finish up
tell him about Brendan Schaub.
So to finish up my thought, because I want to get your take on this. So Brendan Schaub is goofed on by a lot of different people and clowned. Well, recently, this guy named Kyle, who has a show, you might have seen his show on YouTube before. He used to go by Saying Z. Now he's Unique or Uniqueness. He's kind
like
of a
young
mumbler.
Vinny in training, kind of.
He's a bit of a mumbler, and he likes to talk about Howard Stern and Opie and Anthony and all these kind of things. So he was playing clips from Brendan Schaub's show and clowning him a little bit. Brendan Schaub filed a lawsuit, got his entire YouTube channel taken down, and now they're in a legal battle over it. So this sounds similar to what we were talking about with your other case law precedent, but I wasn't sure if you knew about this.
I didn't know about it, but the Sans guy, does he have a lisp or something weird about the way he talks? Yeah. Actually, we had to take something down with him. We filed for a copyright complaint against him just through YouTube because he was using one of our Artie videos, one of my son's videos, actually.
Oh, no kidding. Okay.
We found Artie when he was doing his time working in the gas station.
I've seen that video.
Yeah. So, God, I hate that video, but I couldn't think of anything else to do. So what I did was I wrote on a $20 bill, like not for drug use or drug dealer don't accept or something like that. Like not valid for drugs. And I gave it to him. He's like, who the hell is this guy? But yeah, we had to hunt him down and find him to see where he was and if he was still alive or not. But yeah.
So the reason why I bring this up is because what's happened from this case, and I actually had that guy Kyle on my show recently. Shuli was there, and Kyle said that even though there is some paperwork because they showed it to YouTube, which is why YouTube took down his channel, he says that he hasn't been served yet. And I don't know if that was just a move that Brendan did just to get him to shut up, but it's totally backfired on Brendan because everyone now, like YouTubers who have millions of followers, are now talking about this, and everyone's goofing on this guy who claims to be a comedian and against cancel culture, who's now suing people for goofing on him. And a lot of times I feel like these types of lawsuits kind of backfire on the people who file them.
Potentially. He has some money, so he can hire potentially decent attorneys.
Right.
But look at the public. If you're telling me people with millions of subscribers are talking about him, even if it's negative, I think it's probably more valuable that he's doing it. I get what you're saying in terms of filing the lawsuit. Generally speaking, it's not a good idea in this context, especially if you're not talking about a lot of money. You're going to waste a lot of money if you actually have an attorney. You don't need an attorney to file. You can do it yourself. But be prepared to present all of your financial data to whoever you're filing if you are successful. So you have to get to that point, and most people won't get to that point if you're following the fair use laws that are applicable to YouTube and any other type of work.
Well, it's interesting because this Stuttering Juan character that we were talking about earlier did put in a complaint through YouTube to try to have some of my videos taken down. And YouTube told him that this fell under fair use, and they said they would not be taking them down. And I'm wondering why wouldn't the first move be a cease and desist?
Yeah, so there's some technicalities regarding infringement. They don't have to do it, but it would give you the opportunity to cease and desist what they feel is an infringement on their rights.
Yeah.
And that has to do with damages as well. I mean, if you didn't receive that, then I'd say you're okay. But he could still file. Just because YouTube makes its determination doesn't prevent Juan from filing against Carlos.
No, but it should discourage him. If YouTube's going, yeah, no, we watched this, it's fine. You would think that would discourage Mr. Juan a little bit.
Yeah, but YouTube has no jurisdiction over civil matters, and they're a private organization. They don't have to allow any videos on their platform if they don't want to.
I know, and yet they're allowing me to keep my video up. All they do is take people down all the time. That's what YouTube is famous for at this point. Yeah. And even they're like, you don't have a case here, buddy. What are you doing?
Vince, in your expertise, in your opinion, I have offered Stuttering Juan or John, either of them, to come on my program and to speak face to face. In your opinion, do you think I'm making a mistake? What are your thoughts on that?
No, I think that would be cool. Why would it be a mistake? It would be fun, and it would be great for both channels to cross over. And at this point, at these levels, it's what you should be doing. And will John do it? I don't know, but I can maybe ask him the next time he threatens one of Mooley or Carlos.
Next time he sends a threat, ask him if he'd want to come on my show and what's his address, please.
Also, by the way, Shuli, I have that information. I'll give it to you offline.
Thank you.
Also, it's funny that you bring that up, Vince, because you're right. That's what he should be doing at this point. Is he not aware of Radio Wars? Did he grow up in this? That's how you both grow each other's channels, is by having some back and forth, not just like, they better shut up or I'll sue them. Like, what? That's no fun.
He does Radio Wars differently. He starts them and then blocks the people he started them with.
Yeah, I know. What is
It's a different kind of war.
It goes back to the original point with John is if you want to get him to change, he wouldn't be as fun.
Yeah,
so
true.
Yeah, that would be the normal thing to do. But he's not going to do it, and that's just his personality. He'll never do that.
Translation of what Vince just said, if John were a smart man, he wouldn't be as fun to make fun of. Yes, I agree. Right. Good point.
Right.
Making a lot of points here, Vince.
That was Minnie that said that, not Vinny.
Not Vinny. Vinny's a friend of John. You talking shit!
Well, how many times has Shuli, has he said to you, you guys get into a fight, you're never talking again, and then a few months later, he can come back and he'll talk with you?
But not a lot of those with us. It was more of like he wouldn't talk to me, and then he would go on his show and claim that I leaked a summit video of the serious summit meeting, and then he wouldn't, and then he wouldn't talk to me again, and then he'd send me a DM asking what hotel we're staying at in LA that he's going to come and
hold on,
get
Shuli,
us.
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
So when he said that you're the one who leaked that video, you were still an employee of the Howard Stern show and of Sirius.
100%.
And
100%.
saying that could have obviously put your job in jeopardy. I assume that he then went on and apologized for that mistake.
Never
once. Wait, what?
Never once. Not only that, there was another thing he said. And I'm not going to bring it up because, the person's still employed there, but he accused somebody there of something. And this person came to me in a panic. They're going, I cannot lose this job. I don't know what he's talking about. I've never fucking talked to this guy. I've never like that it's not somebody from his past that he knew. This was somebody he had never face to face interacted with before, and he accused them of something. And this person,
he had never met this person before.
Never.
Yeah.
And this person's like, what do I do? What if they call me in the office? And I go, nobody listens to this fucking guy, so don't worry about it. If
That's
I didn't
bullshit.
get called,
I was listening, and I know that he never necessarily said it.
Sorry,
you were
nobody
the actual
normal listens to this guy.
Right.
Go ahead.
He never said that you were the actual leak, but he was sort of implying it from my recollection that potentially you would have been. So, and then he was also implying that I guess Marcy was hooking up with somebody else or something like that, something to that effect. I don't know if that's what you're referring to, but truly, after that summit video was leaked, was there any talk in the office about it?
Oh yeah.
There had to be,
I
right?
don't know.
No, there was a meeting where it's funny. They did this like good cop, bad cop, worse cop routine
What do you mean?
where so we're all in the studio, right? It's fine. I've never told this before. This is why he's a fucking lawyer, this piece of shit.
He's good.
So uh I we're in the studio after the show, and the amount of times everyone gets called into the studio after the show to be told you guys are doing a great job is zero.
Right.
So everybody's nervous, and it opens up with I'm trying to think. Howard was not there, number one. This was the upper tier management, and it starts with Marcy, and she's the good cop, and she's going, some stuff has come out. We have an idea, of where this came from. But if anybody here, if it was an accident, if whatever, now's your chance. Come talk to us. We'll work this out. She's like, listen, I don't believe anybody here would do something like this. That's just and everybody's like, okay, cool. And then it goes to to Gary, and Gary's like, I think it is somebody here. And Gary's like, and now everybody's assholes start puckering up, and he's like, and let me tell you something. If we find out, it's not going to be good for you. It's not going to be good. And then it goes to Jeremy, and he was like, he flat out was just like, hey, we'll make sure you never work in this industry again, basically.
How are you going to get someone to confess? I love that. It's like you're doing it wrong.
Every single person, whether they smoke cigarettes or not, came downstairs to the smoking area afterwards outside the building, and we're just like, what the fuck was that, dude? What the fuck was that?
Who was the bad cop? Jeremy Coleman. Who is that?
He's one of the executives up there. He was involved with a lot of the talk channels, O&A, and then he moved over. He took over Tim's spot, basically.
So it was a video that we actually see you in, and obviously it was being purposely.
Damn it, I missed that part of the video.
Well, it was obviously being recorded. Did you see the cameras there recording?
No, I didn't see anybody. First of all, that meeting, as eye-opening as it was for everybody who watched it, imagine sitting there. None of us knew what we were going into. Like, we knew he wanted to go in like another direction. We had a few smaller meetings before, and we knew we were kind of going in a different direction, a little bit more guest-heavy, I guess. But we had no idea that all these changes were coming, and these people are coming.
Can I point out the biggest takeaway for Shuli after that meeting? He has to wear a button-up shirt. That was he's
really
like, what the fuck? This is outrageous.
Well, I didn't have a problem with it till we lost Howard TV, and now I'm like, we're not on TV. I should be able to come in here in a fucking, a onesie. Who gives a shit?
Does the Jeff the Drunk puppet have to be dressed up too, or how does this work?
Well, did they ever find out who released it?
Yeah, spill it.
They never.
Spill it, Shuli. You know who it is. Spill it.
No, I have an idea. I don't know for sure who it is, and I have an idea, but I don't want to say who it is.
What's their name rhyme with?
It doesn't rhyme with Mooly, I can tell you that.
Yeah, that's interesting. The recording was probably going to be used for future training, I would think. It wasn't our secret recording. No,
future training of how not to do it? What do you mean? Like
I have zero problem with that. I mean, I know people think that it's like the worst thing ever, but when you're moving a lot of people in one direction or another, it's common to have that type of.
That video was not from any type of camera that anyone had knowledge was there. That was filmed on the down low by somebody.
It was a steady camera, though. That seemed like it was
steady,
set up.
Though.
I'm telling you, maybe, let's say this, maybe the person who filmed it worked in television. I don't know. Maybe they had experience.
Good point.
Does the name rhyme with Mug, or was he gone already?
No, it wasn't Doug, no.
Mug Badstein?
Yeah.
No, you know what, Vince, I know what you mean. I've been in the corporate world. Now you have those types of presentations. My biggest problem with it was that PowerPoint deck. Those slides are fucking terrible. There was just all words. There was nothing interesting going on. At least pick a theme. Make it interesting.
Yeah, you bring up a good point that's totally unrelated to this, but if you're doing any type of PowerPoint, I say the max is 5 words.
Yes.
I mean, if you get away with 1 word, 2, but so many people just write and write and write, and it distracts the viewer who's either reading or listening. They're not listening to you because they're reading the thing. But I mean, Howard was making the point there, and he's a type A type person, and those are the hardest to give presentations because they want to put everything up there, and they just
Right.
And obviously he's an entertainer too, so he understands part of that. But to me, the way that he was moving the company, it's his business, right? If you don't like it, start your own company and you do it the way you want to do it. That was my take on it.
You just made me think of
Greatest
something.
parts. Oh, God.
Oh, sure. Go ahead, please.
Well, I was going to say one of the greatest parts of that whole meeting was, this was a big, big meeting. Like we've only had like 1 or 2 of these big summit meetings, every department from his world, in one spot, meaning, the people that are offsite archiving shit for him and working, in other offices and stuff, all under one roof. And so we're all coming to the summit, and we see Mutt, the host of the Superfan Roundtable, walking into the meeting with his then girlfriend or wife. I don't remember which one she was. And I'm like, nobody was bringing a significant other to this thing.
This isn't a +1. It's not a +1 event.
This isn't a +1. And
Where's the caterer?
He drove in from Philly or wherever he was living at the time for it. They just made a day of it, coming into the city, bringing my wife to the meeting, and everybody's just looking like, so who's gonna tell him? Somebody has to tell him.
Did anyone say anything?
You know what? I don't remember. Once I got in there, I think I was sitting near Sal, and I was picking up his "Do I have a job next week?" energy, and I was just panicking the whole meeting.
So I have a question for you, Shuli.
Yeah.
I'm going to put you on the spot here because I know how good you are with impressions. When you're around someone enough, you can really mimic their style and their sound. Have you ever done a Howard Stern impression?
No.
Can you?
Never. I don't know. I don't know.
Can you say, I need everyone to make 10 Twitter accounts and tweet at Brad Pitt? Can you do that?
I don't know. Let me think here. All right, hold on. Scott. Sorry. No, wait, hold on. Let me get. Scott, you love Rush Limbaugh. So write him a letter. Write him 10 letters. Tell him you're bald. Tell him to come on the show. I don't know.
You need to workshop that. I feel like it's like Lorne Michaels.
I told
not
you
allowed
I
to do an
couldn't, you
impression.
fuck. Now he's going to critique it. Like I said, I got the best Howard impression on earth.
What I'm saying is you should work it out because I think it would be good in the rotation. Because no one does a good Howard except for Anthony Cumia, and his is just like the ooh Robin. I feel like that would be. Maybe there's one other one.
You said it all, Carl. There you go.
What have we done today? Set it up.
I've actually heard Sal do pretty
great. Sal
Sal was so good. He was able to trick Eric the actor into believing that it was him.
Yeah,
a few times.
And Eric is not easy to fool.
Not easy to fool. He knew it was high pitch and not Kelly Clarkson. So,
by the way, Vince, while I have you here and on the spot, we need to do another Eric the actor episode on YouTube, and we need to get in touch with our boy Jan and make sure everything's all right with him.
Yeah, and I'm ready to get back into that. So we were doing a whole series on Eric the actor, who I love and still do, and we're progressing through it. Jan had some family issues, but in reality, I could have pressed it harder. So yeah, we need to start that up again, and I'm ready to go now. So got the new green screen studio going here. That's actually
you're doing it wrong.
Yeah, it's not. There's nothing behind it. It's just green.
Like when people in their videos click right here, and then there's nothing there.
Yeah.
Another thing I hate when people ask for people to smash that like button and subscribe. It's just put out a good fucking video, and people will do it. It's so annoying when you ask them to do it.
Yeah,
that's my advice for a lot of.
You hear that?
Well, your Eric the actor series is fantastic, so I'm excited that's going to come back.
No, it's definitely coming back. We have to do something. Otherwise, Shuli's crawling back to New York City to get his job back. I mean, if we don't,
He's got to cover all these
gruel?
he's got to cover these legal
More-
fees.
More gruel, please. I'm broke from Stuttering Juan's legal fees.
did I see something weird where Johnny Knoxville was in studio, but Howard was in his Hamptons basement, and they're trying to act as if it's in the same room?
Yeah, he hasn't been back to the studio since.
I don't know. They canceled my subscription. I don't listen to the show anymore.
The real question, Vinny, is Howard in the Hamptons or is he in Florida? I think that's the question people have. I think he's in Florida doing these shows.
Well, how ironic would it be is he's bashing Republicans and mask mandates, and he wants everyone to be vaccinated, but he's in Florida now? I don't know. I mean, it doesn't really matter.
It doesn't matter.
And to him,
I think it matters.
Well, eventually it should matter, right? If
Yeah.
you're putting on a show 3 days a week, you would think you'd be in the actual office.
Well, imagine busting somebody's balls who work for you for moving out of the state.
Good point.
And then you
That's a
sit
good
here
point.
and you move out of the state, and you get imagine that. How hypocritical would that be?
Is the rest of the staff still going to the office? Let's say on Monday, will they be in the actual office in Midtown?
You know, it's funny. I don't know who all is going in and who isn't, but I know people are going in. You know, I don't know how that works and what that entails. If it's because you have to understand, the office has to be completely revamped from the way it was. I mean, we were literally sitting side by side with dividers between us.
Yeah.
So, like, you know how it is out there, man. You have to. They have a fart pod now. You go into to rip ass. You know, nobody. It's very very stringent over there.
Yeah, I mean, now I think it's okay for that setup to be. I think people realize now you're not going to die from the flu. So
Wow.
the
Listen,
flu. You can't even say it on YouTube. Sometimes they'll take it down if you say that flu.
now you sound like Stuttering Juan. What are you talking? The child flu.
People get so offended if you say that in a flu, but I mean, generally we name our flus where they originate from. I don't see why it's such a big deal.
Well, maybe because it actually originated from Fauci. And oh shit, are we off the air? What just happened?
Fauci flu.
All right, gentlemen. Well, I don't know if we got to the bottom of anything today. I guess we'll wait for the paperwork to come through.
Yeah, so it's not, I mean, as much as you joke about it, if you do get sued, it isn't a joking matter. I don't know. Even when I get sued, it's still something where you have to deal with it.
It might be a little bit funny, though, right? Kind of a little bit. Even just a little bit.
Yeah, in your situation, it would be, but you have to actually answer, because if you don't answer, then they get a default on you. But even when they default, they still have to prove damages.
Mooley's answering. That's
Carlos,
what he's told me.
Carlos Danger will also be answering this.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the thing is, you probably wouldn't even need, you don't have to be represented to put in an answer and to even proceed through the entire case.
And Vinny, you know that this isn't the first time I've been threatened with a lawsuit from Stuttering Juan, so it's not like I haven't been down this road before. Anyway, on that note, Shuli, Vinny,
Yes, sir.
great to talk to you both. And
Thank you, Carlos. Carl.
Maybe someday we'll be reunited in court on a Twitch feed that people can watch somewhere near them. Whoarethese.com is where you can find Who Are These Podcasts, anywhere you get podcasts. The Shuli Show.
Shuli Show on Patreon. You have the Miserable Men Show on Patreon. You have Thanks for Coming Out, a new podcast I started with James Mattern, where we interview comics about bombing. And anything else and everything else. And I'm touring all over. ShalomShuli.com. West Coast coming up. All kinds of dates. I'll see you soon.
Cool. Live show in Nashville, May 14th. Who Are These Podcasts? Shuli will be there.
Yes, sir.
And we got a lot in store for that. Vinny, anything you're promoting? Eric the Actor series?
Nothing. I got nothing going on.
Awesome.
Send Vinny backgrounds for his green screen if you can. It'd be great.
Yeah, please do.
There better be post-production in this goddamn show.
What do you want him to put back there?
Something good.
All right. Put the documents, put the court papers in the background.
Vinny, aren't you wearing a green hat right now? What do you want me to do with this?
But if you can get the beer on the balcony, that balcony picture,
that would be good.
yeah, I didn't think about the hat too.
And
You're right.
that is why you are not my lawyer. I love this man.
Please join us again next week. It might be the episode we find out once for all. Who are these podcasts? Sleep well, everybody.
Who are these podcasts?